Good morning. Welcome to Wild Earth Safari this morning. A lovely clear sky after a rainy day yesterday. I'm wrapped up like a snowman because it's a little chilly after the rain. Not too bad, but some beautiful clear skies up there. I'm about to see a lovely sunrise. And, well, my name is Mark. Becky's on camera. Craig in final control. And we're going to be going to look for lion this morning. 3 lion at the dam last night, crossing the dam wall, and I've just found tracks on the open area. We're right in the middle of the open area, and I found some tracks. Looked like it was maybe chasing after a hyena, crossing the road heading west. And early this morning we heard some calls coming from the west, so we're going to go and have a look in that area, see if we can locate these lion. Other than that, they must have walked past here. I've got a couple of zebra, there's the wildebeest bull and a small herd of impala around us. And, well, they are pretty relaxed, so these cats are not here anymore. Let's go and look for them. I'm going to talk to Ephraim, who's coming out from the lodge, and I'm going to be telling him what I've got here, and we'll see if between the two of us we can't make a plan to find any of these cats. Ephraim, come in. Yeah, morning. Do you know that there was a Ngala at the dam last night? Okay, 3 Ngala crossed the dam wall at about 3 o'clock and they headed west. I've got one set of them Mkonzo crossing quarantine. It looks like it was showing PC. Maybe check. I'm going to check up on Zoe's. I don't know where you want to go. Okay, copied. They were calling this morning from somewhere southwest. Yeah, I saw that. Heard a small herd of buffalo that are taking refuge at camp actually. Alright, here's the set of tracks I was telling you about. You can see now the rain was a wonderful thing because it cleared the roads, and that means that any new tracks are very distinct. And here I can show you. You can see that one on the left, that's the lion. And that one there, where the tip of my antenna, my rubber finger, that's the hyena running across, going to the west. You can see it's got very sharp toes, 2 lobes at the back. You can almost make out the claws in front of the toes. You can see how distinct it is. And then just to the left of that, look how broad and how much bigger that lioness's tracks are. But I know she was running because of how deep the toes are dug into the ground, the amount of sand that has splashed up out of the track. And I can only imagine that she saw this hyena and took off after it. And I'm going to take off after them both. It was a few hours ago. It was probably about 3 hours ago. But let us have a look to see what we can find. Hopefully they're still around. Strangely, 2 days ago I was saying it's time for lion. And we willed some lion back onto the property. They were seen at the dam chasing after some buffalo 2 nights ago. But somehow nobody could find them yesterday. They must have been hiding. And so today, hopefully they're still around. Possibly the sticks. So we'll go along the western edge of the open area. Calls are coming from a little bit further than just this open area near camp. Well, welcome to South Africa and Djuma Game Reserve, in the Sabi Sand Game Reserve, in the Kruger National Park. What have we got? Hyena tracks and lion tracks going both ways. But there's a male here as well. That's probably the young sticks male. actually going up and down, and I'm thinking that the track's coming this way, or perhaps the more important that let me have a look. Excuse me a moment. Very difficult to tell which way it was going first and which way. Can't see anything in the grasses. Maybe head a little bit further up the open area to the north and see. Something there. Anything, I'd say the tracks south, we're on top of the tracks north. Franklin. Good morning, Dawn. Interesting question. When lion take off after a hyena, are they doing it for food or to chase them away? It's definitely not for food, Dawn. But yes, to chase them away, as well as if they get hold of a hyena, they're likely to kill it. Vice versa. Lion and hyena, it's all a numbers game. The numbers win. Come Franklin, let's go play on the grass. Thank you. There you go.
Channel 3, the guy from the west, I think he's got the Ngala Triple M North. And he just threw my daughter Ngala coming to our town from up to the west.
Okay, but we had three Ngala that were crossing the dam all last night. I've got Mkonzo here heading onto Zoe's Road from western edge of quarantine.
I saw those strength. Now I'm on the Simon East now. Take a Simon Satlan Zoe North.
Okay, copy. Those lion that the guys have got in. I think they're coming to investigate because they've heard only 2 males, I think, coming up from Elephant Plains. Must have heard these lions shouting. Well, they weren't shouting; they were just mumbling. If anything, they weren't really roaring as such. I'm sure they must have been after these buffalo as well, because so let's check Tsalala access road. Hello, Shireen. Why is the vehicle called the Gunda? Well, Shireen, there's rhino tracks here. And the lion tracks crossing, going in, and then up this way. Let's see how far they go up this way. Shireen, we were thinking of a name for this vehicle because the previous vehicle was known as the Jigger. The previous vehicle before that was known as the Tank, and another small vehicle before that was known as Babaloo. Well, I don't think Babaloo was ever used much other than a run around. Babaloo is like my little Land Rover, it's a short wheelbase. And we're trying to come up with a name for this one, and a lot of the guides were saying, oh, here comes Gunda Gunda. Now, Gunda Gunda, when you use it twice, tracks went across that way. When you use it twice, it means tractor, because this is a diesel Land Rover and it has kind of got quite a loud diesel noise. It was a nickname that started with the guides and that we decided to just adopt it. Instead of Gunda Gunda, we just call it Gunda. When I heard those lions, it didn't sound like they were behind camp. If anything, it sounded like they were somewhere here. But that was definitely tracks crossing going northwest. No more tracks on the road here. Beautiful sunlight. Sandy, good morning. Where in Africa is the largest concentration of lion? Ooh, good question, Sandy. It could be Serengeti. It could be Selous. It could be I don't know, Sandy. Could even be Kruger. I don't know. Good questions. Something I'm going to have to find out for you. Air from coming? I've got some tracks coming onto Voya's access road, crossing over into the block between Aubrey's and Gallagher shortcut. And that's all she wrote. I think I'll just check Sandy Patch and then come back. Not that there's going to be anything there, but just to see it. Just to see. Actually, you know, come to think of it, quite a nice view. Early morning, looking out over the mountains, towards the mountains. With the sun behind us for a change, we should get some of that purple colour. Perhaps we'll go up Sandy Patch North. You know, Lion travel quite a long distance. Sometimes you got to jump the gun a bit and guess that they might be elsewhere. Just quickly have a look at the mountains in the distance from here, and I'm going to stop. Maybe we'll hear them calling again. Morning sunlight's just washing the tops of the trees now. We're on a slightly westward slope. That's an east facing slope we're looking at. So we're still in shade. Lovely mountains. Almost see the granite, the lichen covered granite cliff face. Hello, Dawn. Again. Do we get used to the sounds of lion and hyena at night? Do we wake up? Well, I can only really speak for myself, Dawn. Geez, it must have been quite heavy rain here because there was water, surface water was flowing on the road. We had a few heavy falls yesterday. Dawn, yeah, I guess in a way I get used to it. I mean, to the point where it's not a blood curdling sound for me. It's a sound that is part of my life. So I hear it and my brain registers it. Lion, on the other hand, sometimes I wake up when I hear lion because I want to hear where they are. So, like, especially if I'm driving in the morning, if I hear a lion, and then I'll lie awake and try and listen to them, and try and figure out where they're calling from, to be able to maybe follow up and try and find them. But it's not the kind of thing that wakes me up in fright or anything. Dog barking though, now that's a different story. They'll keep me awake all night. The sound of a dog barking. Dogs are incessant. Because owners don't know how to treat dogs. People don't know how to treat dogs. And you get these dogs that'll sit outside a house barking all night. Nobody even blinks an eye. People get so used to it. It's like traffic noise and sirens and things. Can't sleep with any of that. Can't sleep with city sounds. If I stay over in the city, when I stay sometimes in Johannesburg, met friends, they live in a suburb that I couldn't believe it. I was astounded the one morning I woke up. Granted, it was a Sunday morning, so there wasn't much of a traffic sound and people weren't waking up to go to work, but it was eerily quiet for a suburb. Domestic noises. But I can sleep with elephants trashing trees. I can sleep with all sorts of noise of the natural world. Excuse me, dove. Sorry, dove. Love you, dove. Oh yeah, they've burnt this fire break. Then we had rain today, so it's going to get some green grasses already very soon. That ought to be bringing in some things, or it will attract the rhino and zebra. Hello, Jody in Los Alamos. Jody 1 Kenobi. Jody's saying the largest concentration of lion that she can find is in Serengeti. There's about 3,000 lion. You see, now this is where numbers play tricks. Are we talking about largest concentration or highest density? These are two different things. Because a place like, let's say that here in the Sabi Sand, Sabi Sand, probably got the highest density of leopards, even if it doesn't have the most leopards. Like Tarangire National Park has the highest density of elephants, but they by no means have the highest number of elephants. Oh, this air is... I see. I wouldn't be surprised if this is... some of these water droplets are slush. Cold enough to have frost. roads. Does it have anything? No. From coming? No radio, still no radio. Seems like that is calling. Zebra tracks. Lots of tracks. Now I'm gonna go shortcut. Zebra have been very active, and so have, what is that, hyena? Yeah, it looks like hyena. Let me see. Where'd you get to now? Okay, thanks. No, there's nothing on fire break. That's what we stuff like that. Okay, thanks. So there were 3 male lions instead of 3 females. We couldn't really see on that little clip that we had because the camera wasn't zoomed in on them. I guess they could have been 3 males. And somehow they must have gone west. And I didn't see their tracks that went west. But they've evidently crossed. So we've lost lion. The 3 that came across. It was fun while it lasted, trying to find them. I think what we'll do is we'll continue in an easterly direction and explore that part of the world. The nice thing about the rain is it would have put out any smouldering coals, hopefully. Although some of this leadwood and some of these heavy woods can smoulder even with rain. The wood is so dense and the heat is so hot. That makes sense. Lots of birds here because they're going to be finding all sorts of things after a little bit of fire. Flame grilled grasshoppers, roasted butterfly larvae, maybe a barbecued lizard. Most things get out of the way of the fire. But this wasn't a very hot fire, and you'll see there are lots of patches of dry grasses that didn't even get burnt. It gives you an idea of how this fire must have been. But this was a controlled burn, and it's only a narrow stretch of road. It's all the way along this road that we're on, all the way to the east. This is a narrow stretch. It's only about 30 yards wide, 30 meters, if that. And it is going to act as a fire break. Well, it is a fire break. What am I talking about? It is a fire break. And at this time of the year, when it's starting to get very, very dry, and there's a very high risk of fire, fire breaks are actually there's a legal obligation to do fire breaks on the edge of your property in some places, and especially farmers. You can get into a lot of trouble if you don't have fire breaks. Okay. Marilyn wants to know if we have any leopard tortoises. Yes, we do. We have two types of tortoise in the reserve, and one of them is the leopard tortoise. Look, there's this bird. I don't know if we've seen it very often. I see some. Oh, there's a three-daker. We don't get to see three-daker. And they're trying to probably finding some green shoots already. But I don't know. Did I say the name of that bird? Hopefully not. Any guesses? Hard to tell, I suppose. Not giving us much opportunity. There we go. Look this way. There's beautiful profile. Lovely black beard mark. Russet orange on the breast. The daker have all run off. There were three. Must have been male, female, and a youngster. Getting back to the tortoise. The leopard tortoise is the most common tortoise here. There's another tortoise that's a little bit rarer. The hingeback tortoise. I don't know if we'll see any tortoises this time of the year. We'll have to wait till end of August, September. We might see them moving around. Who knows, with this dampness after today, this afternoon's drive, we might see some tracks. We'll keep a lookout for Marilyn. And then Yvonne. How can you be confident sleeping in a tent when you read reports of lion taking people out of huts and things? Well, Yvonne, I don't know. I don't think about how can you feel confident about getting into a car and driving when the accident rate, the death toll on our roads is so high. That's for me the most frightening thing, is having to drive out of here in my little old Land Rover and be part of the traffic of the rest of the world, madness of the traffic of the rest of the world. That's frightening. I'd sleep in a tent any day. In fact, a lot of times that I've done overnight walking safaris, they're not even tents, they're like little two-man mosquito nets that we hang up in a tree and we sleep under that. And I've had lion and elephant and hippo and all sorts of animals walking through camp. Those are the times that I love the most. I don't know, for me it's my life. I'm quite confident. Follow some rules. You can never be sure, you can never be 100% sure that there's not going to be any lion or hyena, and I guess it's a little bit of a risk, but nowhere near the risk of getting in a car and driving on a highway. I mean, you just look at statistics. Morning, Shanae. In New Zealand. Shanae. Hello to Diane as well. You there? And I think there's a Craig too. But Shanae wants to know why it is that lions only see in black and white and not in colour. Well, I don't know if we can be sure of that, Sinead. You know, assumptions were made based on the construction of the eye in terms of rods and cones. And I think it's the cones in the eye that distribute the light into its different, or into the different colors that break up the light. And oh, there's a little steenbok. The animals already coming out onto the burnt area looking for access to grasses they couldn't get at when it was very thick and dry. And we're going to see a lot of this in the coming weeks. Hello, little steenbok. Little boy. Very proud little boy. He's not quite an adult yet. His horns will grow to be a little bit longer than that, almost as long as his ears. Steenbok. For those of you in Germany, if you're watching, not to be confused with Steinbock, which is more like a mountain goat. But I suppose in German this would also be called a Steinbock, because it looks like a stone when it's got its rump sticking out of the bush and just hiding away. Pretty little thing. Bye. Now the steenbok was used as an emblem for do not litter or keep the park tidy. Off he goes. Saw us moving. Because they are very neat little antelopes, they're very conscientious. Like a cat, the steenbok actually buries its dung. That's why I don't really see steenbok droppings very much. They make a little scraping and then they scratch over their dung after they've toileted. Sinead, rods and cones and colour vision and black and white monochromatic vision. Now, I always understood that animals that have colour see colour, and you can be sure of that, otherwise there'd be no reason for them to have colour. And I'm talking about things that have very distinctive colours in especially in the breeding times of breeding, and you see that in birds, I suppose. Well, actually birds, fish, reptiles, and funnily enough primates. Look at chimpanzees and baboons. They are attracted by red. You find some of the reptiles, there is a prevalence of blue in some of the reptiles. Fish, also blue is an interesting color. Primates red. That's why a woman in a red dress is more attractive than a woman in a green dress. It's psychological. It's proven. It's actually been proven that somehow men are more attracted to red, and that might be that sort of primal roots, primal drive of ours. Oh, there, the ground hornbills sniffing around the blackened ground. Hardly see them, it's so dark amongst it. But they moving about, also probably finding some things. Let's see, is that you're gonna get a view of them from there, Becky? Almost. I mean, look at that dead. There's a lot of dead wood still lying about. In fact, some of it even just sticks and starlings have got a lot to say this morning. It wasn't a very hot fire at all. It was a very cool fire. Must have burned very quickly. Just the grasses, none of the sticks, twigs, not even some of the leaves. What is she digging for? He, she. Found something down the gullet. When there's a fire, it actually attracts some animals, especially some of the birds, like the ground hornbills, secretary birds, some of the other small raptors, other hornbills, starling. A lot of these birds are attracted by the fact that this has just been burnt, because they know that there are now easy pickings. But sometimes you will see storks and secretary birds and ground hornbills actually walking through the burning veld. Flames about them, and they catching things that are being chased by the fire. Okay. I use this slope. No, not working yet. Almost. We're moving at 1 millimeter an hour. Okay. Linda wants to know what Benoni was like growing up. A smallish town. Excuse me. Andrew, come in. Andrew, Aubrey, if you can copy me, there was a small slumber in Yari sleeping next to Staff Village at Voyers. Oh, they were lullapies. Before I carry on with Benoni, I know there are a few questions that are piling up. I can never finish a sentence. I think nowadays they're doing more work into which animals can see colour, and I'm not really 100% convinced that things like dogs and cats and lions are colourblind. They do experiments with different coloured things with some of these animals, but the problem with that is that if the animal is not seeing colour, it's seeing different shades of grey, so it's still easy for them to distinguish between one and the other. Hard to tell. So I don't know if I can really answer your question, Shanae. As far as Benoni growing up, I was lucky. Our house was at the end of a cul-de-sac, and it was just open grassland, veld for miles, for quite a while. Nowadays it's all part of one huge metropolis. In fact, all those small towns east of Johannesburg are now have grown into each other that you can't even tell the difference between one town and the other. And in those days, well, we were catching snakes and raising owls, and it was pretty quiet, the town. It was only about a town of 20,000, I think. Small city. There were 3 high schools. This is a magpie shrike. Or used to be called a long-tailed shrike. Like the trees are draped in diamonds. That is quite incredible. I don't know if we can get that effect looking through there. Maybe left of the tree. Okay, whenever we look into the sun with these pick up impurities on the lens, but I'm just hoping to get some idea of all the water droplets on the trees. I mean, it's incredible. There's been no wind, so it hasn't shaken the water off of the trees yet. And they're glistening like jewels, draped in diamonds. Oh, Alec-breasted roller's getting upset with someone. Scott wants to know what causes the signal issue in Triple M area. Same thing that's going to cause a signal issue at the bottom of this dip, Scott. We have a huge antenna on the back of the vehicle, and even though we have this antenna and a tall mast at the lodge, there are times when we get into a signal shadow, and this is what's going to happen now. Perhaps. Used to. A bit of smoke, base of a worry bush. Yeah, I don't know if you lost us for a minute there or not, or a second or so, but the broadcast, to be able to send a signal from the vehicle to back to the base, and then the base to the mountain to somewhere else, and from somewhere else under the sea to Ireland, and from there to the Europe, and then from there. But yeah, basically it's almost like a line of sight thing to our tower. And when we go over some of these ridges or into some of the dips and we can't see the tower, or the tower can't pick up our signal, that's when we lose the signal. Now what we're doing is pretty much pioneering live moving camera stuff. It hasn't been done much before. This is microwave transmitter here. going back to the base, and it's has its problems, you know. It's not 100% effective, especially because this undulating terrain that we have. Good morning to, I think it's Gilly or Gilly. You ever watch Gods Must Be Crazy? Yeah, there was some stuff in some of those movies that wasn't exactly factual. There was a scene in the Gods Must Be Crazy, which is a lovely comedy, but you've got to take a lot of it with a pinch of salt. Jamie Ace produced it, and a couple of other movies of his that have left people believing strange things. But one part of the movie, the rhino comes along and stamps out their campfire, and I think it was Marius Veyers who was playing that role. He said something about the rhino being self-appointed fireman in the bush because they stamp out fires. Well, that's not true. Never seen it. Never had rhino coming to my campfire. Had them coming past. Never had them coming to do that at all. So no, I don't believe it for a minute. Never seen it. I mean, we would see rhino running because there are a few spots here that are still smouldering, and there are a lot of rhino here. We'd see them doing it as we speak. If I remember correctly, in the movie, there was two men in a rhino suit. Bit of smoke down the bottom. Something smouldering. getting back to our bird, our mystery bird. Scott, no, buzzer goes there. Scott wanted to know if it was a fiscal shrike, also known as the butcher bird. We actually don't have them here, Scott. More on the Highveld. We have a number of other shrikes. Look at this lovely mist. I might be able to get the hippo in the mist. If I can't give you gorillas, I'll give you hippos in the mist. And Binky was close with an olive thrush. But no, the olive thrush doesn't have the black throat line. And the fiscal shrike doesn't forage on the ground, but a fiscal shrike is black and white. And doesn't occur here. Quite a surreal scene here at Buffelshoek Dam with the steam rising off the water. I imagine it's a lot warmer in the water than it is out for the hippo. Hello, Davina. Excuse me. Water. Sorry, Davina. I nearly I had a slight laryngeal spasm there. Davina wanted to know if any of the animals are studied, collared, tracking collars. Yes, they are. There are a few. With researchers doing things, like a few elephant. There's even a wildebeest with a collar on, or a couple of them. They're not too sure what all the studies are that are being done, and which animals, but there are a few animals that are being researched at the moment. Their movement, habitat preferences. Hippo's teasing you, Becky. Yeah. Comes up one place. Yeah. Follow the bubbles. Pops up in a different place, and then Becky turns the camera there, and then it pops up somewhere else. It's going faster than you. Okay, let's move on. We have things to find.
Randy wants to know what your favorite movie about Africa is.
Randy wants to know what my favorite movie about Africa is. Wow. Hello, Randy. My favorite movie about Africa. I suppose not a documentary. What the geese shouting for? Geese are complaining. Well, we'll have a look when we go around that side of the dam. Favorite movie? I'll have to think about that one. See if something comes to me. Can't think of a movie about Africa that I've seen. I didn't see Out of Africa. Saw snippets of it. Mark Gumbo. How about Mark Gumbo? John Wayne, Mark Gumbo. King Solomon's Mines. Those old movies. African Queen. Isn't that a Bogart movie? Can't think of anything more recent. I remember being part of a couple of films that were shot here in Africa, but they weren't great movies. One was a Kevin Bacon movie. It wasn't very good at all, but it was filmed in a game reserve I was managing, and I had to manage, well, make sure the crew didn't damage things. Let's have a look down here. What's the noise? Geese? They're probably going to fly now that I'm coming. Didn't get that, only got Shanae's name, didn't get her question. Thank you, Shanae, for the bird. How are you saying, thrush? Right, so what's the fuss, geese? Except now I'm looking into two suns, not just one. They stopped complaining. Okay, let's get going. Oops. We're getting into the dam, we're gonna get wet. Looking at something shining, I don't know, it might just be a rock with a flat face on it. I'm just going to go and investigate. It might be a human thing, something left behind. Some litter. I don't like seeing litter. I think it was just a rock. the flat surface of this quartz that was shining in the sun. It looked like a metal box. I just had to suss it out. Show you how it shines. And we get the sun behind us. Morning, Elizabeth. Wanting to confirm whether it is true that the largest population of great white sharks is off the coast of South Africa. I don't know how. I don't know. It could be. I know that Australia has a fair population, but it couldn't possibly be. I know that all the filming of great whites takes place here in South Africa, mostly along our Cape Coast. There are a couple of areas in False Bay, Walker Bay, and Goose Bay. Kleinsbaai. Actually, its name isn't in English, but its name translated would be Goose Bay, but it's only got an Afrikaans name, Kleinsbaai, which I guess in English would be Gans Bay. And that's where a lot of the shark diving takes place. Cage diving, great whites. But I don't know about it being the largest population. It could possibly be. Possibly. It could possibly be. Old lion duck. Do you want it? Grasses are very wet. I don't think there's going to be much walking through these grasses on a cold morning, with as wet as it is. Nobody wants to get their legs cold and wet, especially not the cats. So I'm hoping to find a cat on a road. Missed those other 3 cats, sadly. Off the road. Yes, well, you can hear its mate, because its mate went off the road, and she's just, come on girl, go back to your husband. There's a gap, you can run off the road there. There you go. a plane. Never saw that series. We didn't have it in this country. I only heard about it. Gilligan's Island. That's mostly because I used to run camps in really remote places and the only access was by small... Oh, there's a rhino on the left. Thank you, Becky. I'm reminiscing about days gone by in remote places where access was only by plane. And always used to have American guests that would do the plane things. Hello, rhinoceros. Good morning. Rinoceronte is doing spraying there. Look at your face, it's wet. And come and say hello. He was spraying. He didn't drag his feet, but he was spraying. He's been dragging his feet, scuffing his feet in this midden in front of us. Oh, that's quite pretty, walking through the wet grasses. Got steam coming off his back. Let's go. You got something there, Ephraim? You have something there, Ephraim?
Yeah,
Oh, okay. Got one in Kombi at Guaripan.
take a bit.
Rubbing his horn now. Getting a nose rub. Mostly the base of his horn that he seems to be rubbing there. I wonder if this could be short horn. Let's go see if we can see anything from where he was rubbing that horn, and we'll follow him up. He's heading up towards Cheetah Cutline, and if he carries on going east, we'll lose him. But let's see if we can see anything where he was rubbing his horn. Hippo tracks. Can't smell anything. I can only smell the onion and chili from cooking last night. But there's a little bit of moist. There's nothing really you can see. It's like a little bit of mud, if anything. Thought maybe I'd be lucky I'd get a little bit of powder. Let's catch up with him. Kombi is heading up pipeline towards Cheetah Cutline. Interesting, that one, Ellen. Yeah, he's marking his territory again now. Spraying. Drag your feet now. No. Just spraying. First he rubbed his horn, then he sort of scratched his feet a bit, and then he sprayed. Mostly do their scuffing when there's dung involved. No, that's not true. Sometimes they scuff if they've been spraying. Ellen wants to know. Was it Ellen? Faster runner. Hippo, elephant. No, rhino or elephant. And do they get along when they cross paths? He did drag his feet here actually. I don't know who runs faster actually. I think, yeah, it's sure. Black rhino runs faster, I think. But I'd say maybe rhino would run faster. Do they get along? Generally they do get along, although there have been some incidents in the past where one would say otherwise, but there were extenuating circumstances in those conditions. You see, what happened was, there was a time 20 odd years ago when they were trying to deal with an overpopulation of elephant by culling elephant, and what they thought was, well, they had to take out an entire herd. It was very sad, and unfortunately it happened. But then they would capture the calves. People didn't really understand much about elephants 20, 30 years ago. And they'd put these calves in a pen. We're losing this rhino. Let's catch up with him. Some rollers fighting here. We might get to see rollers rolling. And they burnt cheetah cutline as well. That's nice. Cheetah cutline's also got a fire break now. Anyway, so what happened was that they would get all these young elephant together and then translocate them and try and reintroduce elephant to areas where elephant had become or had been wiped out, taken out, so that they could re-establish elephant populations in some of these areas. And what they didn't know is that you can't take children and just release them and expect they're going to be responsible adults. I mean, the book The Lord of the Flies was a perfect example of that. These elephants grew up and became delinquents and actually started killing rhino. There we go, he's dragging his feet, spraying. This is not necessarily the boundaries of his territory, but it is part of his territory, so he will be marking every 50, 100 yards. We can just watch him disappear into the distance because we can't follow him any longer. Where are my binoculars? Swan and Combi's crossed cheetah cutline heading into Torchwood up pipeline. I'm going to have to leave him. Open lock. So there were a number of rhino that were getting killed by elephants, and well, the only way that they could calm those young bulls down was to introduce a very big older bull, and it worked. I don't think there have been any incidents of elephant killing rhino now in quite a while. By now those elephants are now adults, and they're breeding herds there now, and the presence of female matriarch females. has changed things a little bit. Okay, bye bye, Mr. Rhino. Thanks for the little visual we had of you. Into the cold southerly wind. The rollers aren't shouting anymore. Only the babblers are making a noise. Oh, and the lories are mating. Go away birds. They're making baby go away birds already. Oh, they're kissing and cuddling afterwards. That's why the babblers are making so much noise, because there's a rival family on Torchwood. That's the Torchwood babblers, and this is the Gowrie babblers. And they're having a babbling match. Unity. Strength in unity. Actually, that's us, the country's slogan. It used to be. I don't know if it... No, it's not anymore. Something like that. Something to that effect. Is now the emblem, what do you call it? Underneath the coat of arms, you have that little scroll with a saying, a motto. Used to be unity is strength. Aubrey's finding lion tracks, Gowrie Dam. But yes, in the babblers, their unity is their strength, and the longer and louder that they can call together collectively, the more they can intimidate their neighbours. But our current emblem, no, motto, saying, what do you call that thing? What do you call it? I can't even remember what it means, but it's a Khoisan phrase. Last year, this time, when this was burnt, I can remember we had an amazing time. We were watching rhino here, almost right here. I was on camera. Patrick was presenting. We were watching the rhino, and the wild dog came running past the rhino, and I managed to get a beautiful film of the rhino with the wild dog in the same shot.
Okay, thank you very much. think I'll be.
Small group of impala. A little bit nervous. Thank you. Gosh. Yeah, birds. Impala are nervous because their birds alarming. What's wrong, girls? Also, there's no ram here. Come on, all of you jump over that log and then I'll fall asleep. We don't count sheep here, we count impala. So getting back to the rhino, Eileen was asking when he's spraying like that, she wants to know if it's urine or a different liquid. No, that's urine, Eileen. That's just how they spray their urine as marking territory. Girls.
Yeah, we can come into London from that side. I think you're more of a police area.
Smouldering log over there. Just go and warm my hands up. A flock of birds in a marula tree. Right. Emblem, Joanne. Could be emblem. Huh? Crest. No, not crest. These starlings. This is a. What is a collective noun for starling? What's wrong, Roller? You're being a little bit outnumbered here. A gaggle of cackle, dazzle? No, that's zebra. Come on. There's a mixed bunch of starlings. They're Birchall starlings, they're glossy starlings. I guess it's just a mixed bird party in general. There are hornbills, there's a white crown striker, there's a like-breasted roller. But not often you see such a collection of starlings. Not unless you're in the States and you're seeing those flocks of hundreds of thousands of European starlings. Hello, Jim. Jim wants to know if I'm a carnivore. And if I'm a carnivore, what animals I like to eat. I know Jim didn't exactly put it in those words. I did. I do eat meat, Jim. Mostly domestic. I eat impala. I'll eat kudu, springbok. Listen to this. Vodka, couldn't really call it a noise. Not exactly song. Starlings have got a lot to say today. Okay. There are some alarm calls, but maybe it's there. Maybe there's a snake that they're alarming at. A bit early and cold for a snake. And all of them are going there where the alarm calls are. It's just off of our patch of ground. So I'm going to have to go and have a look. I have to. Because maybe on second thoughts, I don't want to get my boots all blackened. If I can see something. Can't imagine there's a snake moving around already this time of the day. Still too chilly. Just that starlings are very particular about certain large snakes. No more alarm calls, and most of these starlings are moving off now. Okay. Jim, I know it perhaps is a bit strange that I eat meat. Some people can't believe it with my passion for life and nature and animals. But when I go to the supermarket and there's something on the shelf that's pre-packaged, it's food. It's like buying a carton of milk. I don't think of where it came from. I can't. You can't live your life like that. We humans, we're supposed to be omnivorous. Not supposed to take too much protein in. So I eat very lean meat and I eat a lot of chicken. don't feel guilty about it. Hippo tracks going south. Hippo. Oh, there's an eagle just heard. Alarm calls and saw an eagle. Did it fly out of here? No, no, but where did it come from? Gone. Zebra coming onto the burnt area. There's the foal visible at the moment. Hello, little one. I think that bird flew into the tree just behind that zebra. I'm going to go forward a little bit. I can't see it with my binoculars. I'm never going to get to see it with the camera. But you could try off it goes. And the bird starts shouting again. It was quite a small small eagle. Not a small raptor, but small for eagle. Comes some kudu. Where are you off to, Mrs. Kudu? Do you have any others following you? Take me to your leader. Murmuration of starlings. Thank you. A lot of you sending in collective nouns for starlings. Jean, Binky, Ellen, Penny. Thank you, ladies. Shelley, Linda, and Lynn as well. Thank you very much. Murmuration of Starling. And Cheryl and Barbara. Bye-bye, Kudu. Probably keep running to catch up with the rest of her herd. Shelley and Barbara. Heather asking if I'm thinking of a coat of arms. Yes, Heather, I am thinking of a coat of arms, but underneath the coat of arms you have that ribbon, that banner with a saying. What do you call that saying? Is it a motto or is it a motto? It is a motto. I'm normally good with things, but I just couldn't think of what we would call. More rhino tracks going in. Cheryl Ann, hey, just describe the insect for me, please. Cheryl Ann was seeing a program about Africa. There was an insect. Sounds like a bladder grasshopper. That sounds like a katydid. About an insect that gnaws a pear-shaped hole in a leaf, and then I know exactly which insect you're talking about, Shirley. It makes this hole in a leaf, and then it'll sit inside that hole, and it'll stridulate, and it'll use the actual leaf blade on either side of it then to amplify its noise. It's either the bladder grasshopper, which in a sense is one of the katydids. So yeah, it is one of the katydids. Longhorn grasshoppers. Or maybe it's one of the bush crickets. Not sure if I've got it in the insect book. I'll have a look now. I'm just thawing my hands out because I can't move them. I'm using an improvised hand warmer. Oh, okay, Jim's asking about my culinary preferences because he cuts meat in a supermarket. Is interested in what people eat in other parts of the world. Well, Jim, I like beef fillet, a good fillet. I like traffic. Hi, Kim from Nelspruit. I don't know what they're doing here. Must have been to Cheetah Plains or Rumkoro or something. Chitwa even. Okay, we could be doing a call out track of hyena. Got excited for a minute, thought maybe it was something else. Atari was also, wasn't that a John Wayne? Atari and Born Free. Yeah, Virginia McKenna and Bill Travers, wasn't it? Born Free movies. They weren't too bad. I tell you one thing about all of those old African movies, the movies from the 50s and 60s, they all had Land Rovers on, like my Land Rover. Where are we gonna go now? Let's go down Leadwood Road to Twin Dams. Filleted chicken breast, lean beef mince, ground beef, beef fillet, or tenderized steak. Those are sort of what I buy when I go home. Look, there's a wild African Land Rover. No, it's not, it's a Land Cruiser. It's a landowner rushing somewhere. Morning! Thank you. It is the motto that I was thinking of. Motto. Stop, zebra. Stop. 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 No, you're supposed to stop on top of the mound. That's not too bad. Like, who said that? I don't even know what I'm saying. I can speak zebra, but it's like any foreign language. You learn some words, but you got to know what they mean. I don't know what it meant. Are you going to roll in the sand? No. Excuse me. Pretty light on this child. A little nice light on this pretty child. Two mares, a foal, and a stallion. You only got two ladies, boy. Let's go and see if we can catch up with one of the main predators of these zebra. Morning, Ephraim. Yeah, I just copied that. Thanks. Which Ngala is that? Mostly. Well done, but Tsalalas. Let's go and see some pussycats. Bye-bye, zebra. Nice to have you coming on to West Ngari. Mind the cats. You're heading in their direction, but you've still got 2 miles to go. So I wonder, which way should we go? Let's go along, instead of Leadwood Road, let's go all the way along Mamba Road. Yeah, let's do that. Go along Mamba Road. Find some lion. Finally were found. Funny enough, there was the one. Must have been more lion around last night, because those tracks that we had, those were males, and those tracks all went west into the night, west onto Elephant Plains, and these females that must have been the ones that came across the dam then. Actually, let's go down this little bit of Drakensberg Drive to Mamba Road, because there's that tree across the road. So these lionesses, funny enough, this morning when Craig and I were looking at that clip that somebody posted of the lion coming across the dam wall, he said it looked like the first one didn't have a tail. We'll see if it is, if she is. That's the old Grandma Bibi is her name, with no tail. Well, they're kind of down there in that, there, that way. Hello, Lucille. You know, I should bring my iPod with me, because every now and then we get somebody sending in a question and the name just sparks the thought of a song. It's like Gloria and Jim Morrison's song. Lucille, there's another song on it. But Lucille was asking how many dams there are on the reserve. Well, you see, these are questions that confuse me, because are we talking about only here in Djuma? Because we can't give you a number of how many dams there are in the Sabi Sand or in the whole of Kruger. But just here at Djuma Game Reserve, this little patch of the bigger area, this is all essentially a national park. It's not just a reserve. I mean, it's essentially all national park, and it's a very, very large area. And I couldn't tell you how many dams there are. We've got 4 main dams here on Djuma. There are some smaller pans and seasonal water holes that fill up after the rains. A couple of them still have water in them. But just beyond our boundaries, there are a lot of other dams too that animals utilize. Places we can't go, but the animals go. It's always difficult. If anybody ever wants to know information about the area, I'd suggest to be a little bit specific. You know, are we talking about Djuma Game Reserve, which is the 1,000 hectares that we cover? Or are we talking about the Sabi Sand Game Reserve, which is about 56,000 hectares? But even that is not the whole area, because we talk about the Greater Kruger National Park, which incorporates all of this, or rather this is all incorporated in Kruger, and there we're talking about a few million hectares. And that's got to be something like 30,000 square kilometers at least. Huge. Goes for still another couple of 100 miles to the north, goes for at least another 100 odd miles or more to the south. Good 70 miles east and maybe more. Not that many miles west, because we're on the western end of Kruger, western edge. And so sometimes it's difficult to give you figures, because we're all part of Kruger and animals move around a lot, and we can't give you numbers of just the Djuma Game Reserve because it's part of such a large area. But when it comes to things like dams, if one is being specific about Djuma only, there are 4 main dams. Gari Dam, which is at the lodge, also known as Djuma Waterhole, where the camera is. It's a buffalo tracks here. And there's Treehouse Dam, Twin Dams, and where we were this morning was Buffelshoek Dam. Those are the 4 main dams. But Taylor Pan still has water. The pan up on Sandy Patch North still has a bit of water. This little pan below Mumba Road might still have water. There's still water in the crossing on Central Road. I think where else? There's still a little bit of water on Spum Road, which is where I think the Tsalala lionesses are at the moment. And quite unusual, going into middle of July. Gosh, I'm running ahead of myself here. Middle of July, there are still green grasses, there are still leaves on trees, and there is still water in some of these seasonal pans. The rain that we had yesterday won't do much at all to things. Such a dry area at the moment. That rain will all be dry by tonight, but it wouldn't have contributed to the level of any of these little seasonal pans or water holes or dams. The hornbills. Hello, Jim. It is a little frustrating with these radios. Jim wants to know if there are any dangerous snakes in the area. And would the burn have them moving around a little bit? Only maybe some of the snakes that might have been in that burnt area. And, picked up a stick again. Yeah, there's still a bit of water here. Let's see if I can get rid of it by driving on the grass. Reverse it. Stuck underneath. I'll wait till I'm up on Twin Dams Road and I'll try and remove it. Jim, yes, we do have some dangerous snakes. We have some quite venomous snakes. Some of the country's most venomous snakes occur here. One of them being a very well-known black mamba. The other one being a boomslang. There's also the vine snake. Several cobra species. We have the snouted cobra, which used to be known as the Egyptian cobra. It's a southern variety of the Egyptian cobra. We have, let's go to Tsalala. I'm just going to take this stick out from underneath. I thought I might pick it up when I drove past it. Stop. It's not the one I thought I'd picked up, it's a different one. What else have we got? We have puff adders, viper family. Mozambique spitting cobra is another one. I don't think we get Cape cobra here, I'm not sure, I don't think so. We might get blackneck spitting cobra. We get night adders, bibrons, stilettos. There's a type of grass snake that you get that that is venomous, but it's not deadly. It's just extremely painful. And those are about it for the venomous snakes. There are about 30 something venomous snakes in the country. 30, 31, so or 34, I think, somewhere around there. Hello Impala, all getting some sun, are you? Morning ladies. Don't get up. I'll just sneak by. You know, they're sitting so close to the road, they probably will get up, some of them. Hello children. I'll try and go off-road a little bit so that you don't get up. No, sit down, sit down. Some of the older ladies. Some of the older Impala, man. Don't get up. You all got babies growing in your tummies? Hope so. We'll see you later. Andy, morning. Saying yesterday Tara had some elephant sparring and one looked like he was getting upset and wanted to charge the vehicle. Anyone's never ever had an animal charge? Yes, Andy, I have. I remember once in Tanzania I was chased by an elephant for about 2 kilometers and I had no choice but to drive away from it. I had guests on the vehicle and they were panicking and going crazy, and if I'd stopped, I don't know what would have happened. But generally when an elephant charges, I tend to stay still and they tend to stop. But this female elephant was very upset, and problem is when you drive away from them, it just makes them more angry, so then they even chase, then they're going to definitely chase you more. It's kind of a difficult one to call. You've got to see how they behave. You've got to try and sum it up. I've had lion charge the vehicle, I've had leopard charge the vehicle. Not this vehicle. And then I've experienced a lot of that on foot as well, where they charge and they stop in front of you. one incident once when an elephant didn't stop. I knew she wasn't going to stop, but I still stood my ground. Still water in this pan too. That should have been dried up long ago. Station with Ngala. Coming up from Chelapan onto Philemon's cut line. Okay, copied. Where they? Spum Road. Copy, thanks. Hello, Mr. Marla.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, there are a number of other vehicles there. Rosie said, I said I was going to see lions, or was that my imagination, or her imagination? No, it's just been we've had to cover a lot of ground to get here where the lions were found, Rosie. We were way over in the eastern part of the world because we thought the lions had crossed over to the ones that, it was confusing because there evidently were two groups of lion around last night. And the tracks we were following, those lion eventually crossed over west into another lodge area. But it appears that some other lions were found. But it's also in the western part of our world, and we were way over on our eastern boundary. So it meant that we've had to we've had to travel across a lot of ground, cover a lot of ground before we're going to get to the lion. But the reason why I've been going slowly is because all the other vehicles have been there. There's still other vehicles there. So I'm not going to be able to talk too much when we're with the lion. But we're going to see them. I'm sure that now with it warming up, they're probably going to be sleeping. Hoping we're going to see a little bit of action or a little bit of activity from them. But it's still a little ways to go. Still a few hundred yards to go. And we'll see when we get there. We're now on Philemon's cut line, heading west. When there are a number of vehicles driving around, it's a bit of a dilemma. You know, sometimes you can find an animal, and because it's a quiet morning like this, you have so many vehicles coming to see that animal that you don't get to spend much time with it. So sometimes it's best actually not finding the animal, doing what we did this morning. If we had found the lion this morning, we would have had maybe 5 or 10 minutes with them. Other vehicles would come along and we'd have had to leave. This way, I'm hoping by the time we get there, all the other vehicles have been there already, so we can just sit with them and enjoy them. Hoping that's the case. Andrew Corza.
Hello.
How are you?
How are you, Mark?
Fine, and you, Andrew?
Hello, how are you?
Good morning.
Thanks. You won't miss it.
Okay.
Just go
Thanks.
up and then you'll see.
Can we swap? You can have a safari.
Yeah, I was also looking for that. You
Those
said
are
you
nice.
sell them already.
No, those are nice jackets.
Yeah, very nice. I think they will be selling them soon.
How's my Audi doing?
Hey, well,
Aye.
It's very well. It's a machine, man.
Okay.
Thanks, I'll chat
Have
to
a
you
good day.
soon. Thanks.
Bye. Bye. What's that in the road? A little bunting. Little golden-breasted bunting. Right. Canaries, wax bulls. Fuck, well, just come. Sean, come in. Sean, can I join you, please? Alright, I'll wait till you come out. Sorry. Got to take care of protocol there. What was that, Craig? Just gonna wait. Looks like the bush is quite thick in there. I'm just gonna wait until this other vehicle comes out and then we'll go in. Yeah, I had my earpiece was out there, Craig. I was listening to radio. Two vehicles moving. One vehicle trying to come out, another one trying to get a better position. What are you doing, Sean? Going out somewhere else? Okay, I'll go in here. Okay, now no standing up, folks. Please stay in your seats. Don't make any loud noises. Fast movement. Pretty thick in here, so visual might not be great until vehicles move out of the way for us. Now we'll just have to come onto the western side of them and have a look from this angle. Yeah, pretty girl. Lifted her head to see who was coming in and flat cat again. 1, 2, 3. I can see 4 of them. Just one stick in the way. There we go. That's BB, the old lady with no tail. Going to settle down elsewhere, and these are 3 of the young females. Can't see where the 4th one is just yet. Oh wait, I'm seeing another ear. All 4 of them are there. Just beyond those back legs on the left there sticking up, you can see an ear there. There's those 2 feet sticking up on the left, and just beyond them there's an ear flicking from another one of those young lionesses. Now what we're seeing from these lions, yeah, that was the fourth one, I guess, just lifted its head. And I get up and go to Grandma. What we're seeing out of them is not necessarily lions being lazy, but lions conserving energy. And as we go into the warmer part of the day, we're pretty sure that this is all that lion are going to be doing, is sleeping. There goes BB. She's a bit restless by the looks of things. She's trying to find shade perhaps. But she is the older of the five, and with her moving on makes these three, all four of them actually, all four of them are starting to perk up a little bit. Because if she's moving off, they will follow her. Yeah, there we go. One youngster's following her. And the others are getting up. They won't let her out of their sight. And they're heading south. Oh, I wonder if she heard something. So much for lion conserving energy and sleeping. So let's see if we can follow them, keep up with them. These are your friends, Becky, that try and stalk you. Lucas, come in. Lucas, if you could leave a branch on the road there, please. Paul, come in. Paul, these Ngala are now getting up and starting to move south. I've asked Lucas to leave a branch in the road. Big tree stump. Well, maybe we can go through it. Looks pretty rotten. Bombastic, but yeah. Nose to the air, they're sniffing something. What you after, girls? Catch yourself a kudu. I reckon lion once upon a time had rosettes like leopard, and if we look at this one, if we look at her flank, almost where her tummy is, you can see the remnants of spots. They don't move now, girl. But you know, they're born with spots, and the spots fade with age. But somewhere along the lion must have been a little bit more spotted than they are now. And then over time, their spots have faded to blend in better with the pale grasses of the African savanna. Andy wants to know why the one lioness doesn't have a tail. Well, she lost it somehow. Whether it was bitten off in a fight, bitten off by a hyena. I don't know, Mandy. I'm afraid I can't answer that. I don't know how she lost it. But all I can tell you is that she did lose it. Let's drive over that monster. FM, I think we're still quite far from Gary Main, but we're still heading south. They are scenting something coming out. There's a strong, not strong, but there's a steady southerly breeze, and every now and then they're lifting their head into the south, or rather into the. They're lifting their heads up, pick up the scent in the south. Something up ahead, perhaps. Here's the old lady without the tail now. Hello, pretty girl. Gosh, she's huge. Massive. Oh, okay. Found a nice spot to lie in. Mind the hat. Five lionesses on the prowl, coming to lie down next to us. They are very fit cats, these. They're all in very good condition. They would be quite a force, 5 lionesses. Don't know what it is that they're picking up the scent of. I realize sometimes that I can take photographs. Bless you. Sorry, who was that? I didn't get that who that was from. Bit of breakup. I got the question is, when lion give birth, do they give birth alone or do the other females support her? No, they do. They go off and give birth alone. They'll actually stay alone with the cubs for a couple of weeks before they bring the cubs into the pride. Generally speaking, not always. Always exceptions, depending on how close the pride individuals are. So it sounds like someone's kind of come in here. Station coming to Ngala. Yeah, Mark, yeah, go. No, Paul, they've actually settled down. I can hear your vehicle if you just keep coming south. I heard a vehicle. She's fat. She's found a depression to lie in, and she's like, almost as though she's got this huge depression in the ground, this hole in the ground to let her belly flop into. But she's huge. Her biceps are about as thick as my thighs. Still testing the air. Obviously I can't smell what they're smelling, but I thought maybe I could pick up something. I can still hear you. Okay, are you ready? I don't know how. Sorry, girls. A bit close to you to be revving engines, but. At one moment I could have got a nice photograph. Now, Paul, I don't want to rev too loud because they've settled down right next to me, but I'll give it a bash. Settled down right next to me is a bit of an understatement. It's like underneath the front bumper almost. She's quite a battle-scarred old lady. And those cars will stay there for life. Now, what I can try and show you if we look close to her whisker pattern. Show you what I mean. We mean when we say we use their whisker pattern, their spot pattern on their whiskers, to identify them. You know, when they get a lioness like this, that every time she looks up, I don't have my camera in my hand, and now I'm not going to show you the whisker pattern. We shall. She'll look up again shortly. Just to your left a bit, Paul. Oh, radio. Okay, she's got her head up again. Well, there, you see, you got 3 lines of spots of whiskers, and just above the top line of spots, you can see it. She's got, if you count from her nose, there's 1, 2, 3, and there's a spot above the 3rd, then 4, and there's a spot above the 5th, and that would be some. You're welcome. And that would be one of the things that we would mark down on paper, that on her right hand side, this particular lioness has a 3 and a 5. In other words, a spot above the 3rd spot and a spot above the 5. And every single cat is different. In fact, she's even got a super spot above the spot above the 3. Of course, the scars do help. The scars on their faces are better markers for identifying them. But scars change over time, and the one thing that doesn't change will be those whisker spots. Gilly, is this a matriarchal group? Well, it's part of a pride, Gilly. I wouldn't exactly call it a matriarchal group. I don't know much of the history of this pride. I do know that there are 2 lionesses that aren't here at the moment, because they have cubs. They're further down south. But I don't know, I couldn't tell you who the males are of this pride. I would imagine it would be the Mapogos that fathered those cubs. But yes, in a way, maybe you could call it matriarchal. There is a hierarchy amongst the females within a pride of lion, but not matriarchal in the sense that lion, or rather elephant, are matriarchal. She just heard something. I also heard something crackling. Could just be wind and leaves. Could be a vehicle on the main road. Debbie was saying that I've said animals with dark spots under their eyes help with the vision. That's with diurnal animals, Debbie. Like I was saying the other day with the shrikes and the bee-eaters and a lot of these birds that hawk insects in flight, they have dark lines under their eyes. With lion, the white, the very pale markings under their eyes actually help their vision too, because in a reverse manner, in terms of their night vision, pale under the eye actually helps to reflect more light into the eye, it is believed. A number of nocturnal things that have white around the eye. The owls that have the white discs around the eye. assist with nocturnal vision, and black lines and black markings around the eye help with diurnal vision. Not a hard and fast rule, and you will find exceptions to that rule. As in nature, you'll find exceptions to every rule, because I guess there are no rules. Hello, Barbara. Barbara wants to know if those are ticks or fleas on the line, and are they getting on me? No, they're flies, Barbara. I'm not getting any flies on me at this point. But yeah, they've all got a lot of very small flies around them. And Shireen wants to know how old they are. I don't really know Shireen. She's an old lady. She's a grandmother. This one in front of us. Not that one, but what we're looking at is one of the youngsters. Two, actually. There are 4 youngsters here. 4 young females that I would say are probably around 3, maybe. Three and a half. This old lady's got to be around 5 or 6 at least. Paul, I'd say it's a long way to Gary Main. Quicker to go the other way. Although, it's not as far as on Spum Road. It does get a bit closer here. We'll see. Maybe we'll try and get out that way too. We're not going anywhere in a hurry. We're going to stay with these cats until it's time to say goodbye. Because we can, because there's not much else happening out there this morning.
Change battery.
Okay, I'm just going to change the camera battery. Hello, Lucille. Wanting to know what their lifespan is. Well, lionesses tend to live a little longer than lion. Average about 12 years, I'd say. And some lionesses have lived longer. What was that for? You got a fright for what? I shuffled my foot on the floorboard. It's got to show how sensitive they are to the sound of human feet. Don't look at me like that. I'll give you the one-eyed stare with my camera. She got a fright and gave the others a fright in getting a fright. Laura. Hello, Laura. How's Finland today? If it's Laura in Finland. Could be other Laura. That bird earlier, that was a curryshane thrush. Kurricane. Curryshane thrush. I love you, sister. This is a sorority, not a matriarchy, it's a sorority. Bunch of sassy lionesses. Thank you, Rosie. Rosie's telling me that BB's not older than I thought. BB's actually 13. Twice the age that I thought she was. I suppose I should have thought more about the scars and her very black nose and condition of her ears. I'm just going to move slightly to the side. Relax, girls. Be good. And don't look at Becky like that. Like you got a hollow tummy. Moira won't be happy with me. Becky won't be happy with me. Hello, Leanne. Leanne was asking if these are the lions we saw before, what they had the cubs with them. No, this is a different pride, Leanne. We are in quite a unique position where we are on the edges of various prides home ranges. So we get a number of different lions that come through here. You know, I don't know what is better, whether it's better to be like where we are, that sort of... I think perhaps in some ways it is better, because we can have all these different lions come through, as opposed to being in the middle of a particular pride's home range where you only like to see that particular pride every day. Under the circumstances, we never know which lion are going to visit us, and we have a group known as the Styx pride that come up from the south. There's this pride known as the Tsalala pride that come up from the south. There's the Kahumas that come in from the north. And haven't heard of the windmill pride for some time now. There used to be Sandy Patch in the west, but that whole pride is gone. And then all the males that come through. But the pride that had those very small cubs that we saw on the wildebeest kill a while ago, that was the Kahumas with their children, 6 cubs. There are cubs that belong to these Tsalalas, but the 2 females who have those cubs, I think those cubs are still too small to be following them around. So hopefully in the future one day we might get to see, in a couple of months' time, we might get to see these 5 plus the other 2 lionesses plus their cubs, which would make a nice little pride of lion. And I'm hoping they're still going to be around this afternoon. It's going to get hotter, so they're going to move into shade. There are some trees here that will provide fairly good shade. And our best bet will be to try and come back later and see if we can catch up with them. For now, though, I'm going to say goodbye to you. And we're going to have to find our way out of here and get the vehicle back to its charging bay. So, from myself, Mark and Becky in the back, the Tsalala lionesses, Craig in final control, all of us here at Wild Earth Safari, thank you very much for coming along with us this morning, and I hope we'll see you later this afternoon at about 3:30 Central African time. Bye bye. Bye bye, girls.